So here's Mitch, who's the world's expert on the iPad, and he usually flies in on his company private jet from the slopes of Utah.
Yes,
So we're glad to have you with us today.
great.
Your associate.
Thank you. He always does such a great and elegant job in telling those lies. I wish it were so. I wish I had that private jet. I'd take a bunch of you for a fun ride. Okay, we're going to talk about iOS 7 and iPad, iPhone today. I'm going to open it up to question and answers, and I do want to go over a couple of things. And I did get a couple, 2 or 3 people who responded to the announcement of the meeting with questions, and I want to go and address those right away. Janet, I don't know if Janet's here. Janet asked about how do you delete an application that you have no use for on your phone when an X does not appear when you turn it on to delete it? And the answer to that is it can't be done. And I'll show you that. First of all, those are native, what they call native apps, or the apps that Apple has built in, such as Notes, Messages, and Calendar. And if you have no use for those, you cannot delete them. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the, what I was about to say is what you do is you press the home button. You touch on an icon with your finger and hold it on there. So I'm going to do that on one of these, and they'll start shaking. And the ones with X's you can delete, but you'll notice that there are some that don't have X's, which is what Janet was referring to. And you cannot delete those. The one that she particularly didn't like was, it might have been Passbook. And I don't know where I have Passbook. But there's a couple things that you can do with these. The first thing is you can hide them in a folder. So, for example, if I said, well, I really don't want this one and this one, you can put them together, put them in a folder. You can change the name of the folder by touching on that productivity and calling it whatever you want. I'm not going to change it right now, but you could call it unused items. And then when you're done with that, you could take that folder and you could move it, grab it and move it and what I do is move it to the last page of my iPad. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to go back out here, put it on the first page again. Yeah, it's on the first page. Okay, and then I'm going to take those out. So you grab them and just pull them out, and it'll make that go away. We'll lock it here when it belongs. So the answer is you cannot delete those native apps. You can put them in a folder, and then, like I tend to, you see I'm going to press the home button that gets these squiggly things away. But I tend to have a lot of apps on here, and as I don't use apps, I put them back here on the last page. That's one way to just sort of get them out of your way. Okay? Any questions on that?
I have one question on that. Sometimes I can't move an app to the back. I can't get it off.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little tricky. I've found that you just got to sort of play with it. And I found if you go down here, sort of at the bottom, it seems to work a little bit better. Up in here, sometimes it doesn't work as good.
Thank you.
You just sort of have to play with it. Yes, sir.
Jim Corsica. I find it easier to move them when it's in portrait mode rather than landscape.
Okay, there's an idea for people to try to do. Yes.
Yeah. No, but I found it just move one of the things out of the bottom, move the one you want to get rid of it, and then you can.
That's another-
Then it's,
that's
then it's
another-
on every screen and pull it back out.
Yeah, that's another trick
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
done. So what he's talking about is, let's say I want to move this, let's say I want to move Facebook's, and I want to move it to the last page. Rather than going through all those pages, I can take and temporarily put this one up here, put Facebook's down here, and go down here, all the way to the end, and put Facebook's up here. Okay? And then go back to the beginning and drag down in what I had down here.
Photos.
There you go. Okay? And so for right now, I'll leave my Facebooks there. The other way, you know, it's just more difficult because I will do it real quick. So we put Facebook's here, take it here, and you just gotta keep on holding it there forever, and that gets cumbersome. And there it is. Okay, so that's a good point, and I do that. Particularly if I'm organizing and creating a bunch of folders. You notice I have a bunch of folders here. They do not appear alphabetic when you make them, so you have to reposition them. But I've repositioned mine in alphabetic order. And yeah, let's please silence all phones if you've got phones. But when I'm doing that reorganization of icons and which pages I want them on, I'll take and move several of these items in this bottom bar up on my first page temporarily, so I can drag things down there and move them to the pages I want. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, the other question that Janet had, yes.
On that one, if you're connected by wire to your Mac or your PC, I guess, in iTunes, that's the easiest way to move them.
You can also move them that way as well,
Keep dragging
yes.
them.
I never do that, but you can, that's an easy way to do it if you're on your Mac.
Where'd you get the folders? I didn't see.
You make folders. Okay, I'll show you real quick how to make it again. So you hold your finger on any one of these icons to get them shaking. Okay, and then if you want to make a folder, you take and drag one on top of the other. So I'll take CNBC and put it on top of the calculator, and it'll come up, and it will give it a suggested name. The name, you can come up here and you can change to anything you want. Okay. Then you can move these around in here. If you have a lot of them in there, you can. You can also move to a second page. Notice down here there's 2 pages. So if I really wanted this to appear on the second page, it would. Okay. But normally, you don't want that. You want them here, and then after you get, I think, 9 of them on there, it automatically starts the second page, and will show an empty third page. Okay, so that's how you do that. And then, okay, so now I'm done. So now you see I have a folder here. Okay, so I don't want that folder there. So to get them out, unfortunately, you have to do them one at a time. Okay. And now they're out. I'll try and get them up here to work about where they were. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, the other question that Janet had was, can you print the content of contact apps app on your iPhone, from your iPhone? And the answer is no. So in other words, if you pull up your contacts right here, if I pull up my contacts, and there is no place that I know of on here to print them. The way I've printed them is I sync this with iCloud to my Mac, okay? And I pull up contacts on my Mac, and from there you can print them. That's how I do it, and I occasionally do that for some maintenance reasons. Okay? You can also create groups. And the way you do that, again, is you do that on the Mac before I do that. As far as I know, you can't create groups in iOS. Yes?
Mitch, this is Eckhart Getty. I have just one more comment on the previous subject on icons and how to put them in an alphabetical order. If you do not have too many, let's say if you have 30, 40, or 50 icons, and you put them in over time, they're definitely not in an alphabetical order, and you could do it manual, as Mitch suggested. There's a more elegant way, really, to do it. If you go into settings in general, and then towards the bottom there's an option reset. And then you could do actually reset home screen layout, and it will put all your icons that you've added, all your apps in alphabetical order, with the exception of the very first page, which are the apps that come with your iPhone or iPad originally. The reason why I suggest to limit this only if you have maybe 40 or 50 icons is the following. People like Mitch, they have hundreds or maybe thousands of apps on their devices. And they group a lot of icons in certain group icons. And if you apply this home setting, it will destroy all that manual setup that Mitch and other experts have done, and then they have to redo all these special groups. But for ordinary users who have, let's say, maybe 40 or 50, my wife the other day, she was so happy when I told her how to put it in alphabetical order. She was using in a dark restaurant, she was using flashlight because she couldn't read the menu. And she couldn't find the flashlight because it was hidden somewhere. With the reset button, she had it on the F immediately and it worked. Just wanted to share that.
Yeah, and you do that through iTunes, correct?
No, on the iPad.
On the iPad.
In settings.
In settings, okay.
General, it's just settings, general.
Okay.
and
General.
reset.
Very bottom,
Towards the bottom.
click on the
Reset.
reset and then
You
look
see
at
reset and then
the
home screen layout.
Okay,
Towards
second from the bottom.
yes.
And what does that do again, Eckhart? It puts them all in alphabetical order, even the Apple ones, it mixes the Apple.
Not the very first one, they are also in alphabetical order, but there's the first page, which comes with your device, and then all the apps that you add, they will be put in alphabetical order.
What if you've moved some of those ones from the first page to other pages over time? Do they go back to the first page?
Probably,
Yes.
factory default.
What happens to your folders? Do they get alphabetized too?
Destroy.
They all go away.
They go away, that's the problem.
Oh, they go away. Cancel that right now. Yeah, you're right. If you got 30 or 40 and you don't have any folders, that's a good idea. I have about 250. I think I have about 400 total, but the other ones are for the sky. Okay, Bill emailed in a few questions. And the one question he said, he asked about, what's your opinion on iTunes Radio? Is it worthwhile? And how do you access it on an iDevice? Now, I got this question, and this happens frequently. The last time I used iTunes Radio was probably 6 months ago. Something, where is it? So the first thing I did, and I want to go through this exercise with you, is I went to Safari, and I went to Google, and I typed in iTunes Radio. Okay? And I did a search, and this is what all the stuff that came up on iTunes Radio. Okay? You can also, if you hit, a lot of times when you do a search, if you hit videos, you'll see video demonstrations on all this stuff. Okay? So I wanted to just go through this because I've said this 100 times in here, and it's the truth. Google is your friend. If you have a question and you put it in Google, you'll probably get an answer. And it's not that I don't want you to send me questions, but I want everybody to know how to get answers to questions as well. And I didn't know the answer right off the top because I hadn't used this in a while. So I just typed in iTunes Radio, and I went down to the second one and hit on it. And this is the official site on Apple. Start listening, and then they've got a short video. Watch an introduction to iTunes Radio. I'm not going to go through that. And then they go down and they talk about features, and they talk about iTunes, or they talk about Music Match. You have Music Match, which I do. Somewhere in here is Music Match.
Next, keep going, right there.
Right there. If you have iTunes Music Match, which is a $25 subscription a year that does a lot of things with your music if you have a big library, then you get iTunes Radio without any advertisements. Okay? So, I don't know if Bill's here today, but the answer is right here, Bill. Go to the site, type in that, and there's a wealth of information. Now, where it is on your device, I will show that.
Right at the bottom, when you open iTunes.
Okay, yes. When you go to iTunes, which is happens to be in my music folder, you go to Music, and iTunes Radio is right here. The bottom. And if you hit that, it'll come up. Okay. Now, as far as is it good, isn't it good? I've heard people, I don't use it that often, and I don't use Pandora that much either. I've heard people say that, well, I like Pandora better. I pay for the subscription for Pandora, and I love that. I've heard people say, well, I use iTunes Radio. I think it's up to the individual. Does anybody have a few comments on that? Yes.
Bill, I use Songs. I don't know if anybody else uses. That's a great app. You can select a mood. For instance, you want to listen to Spanish guitar. It'll go on for hours, no ads. Absolutely wonderful.
And which app is that?
Songza, Songza.
Oh, Sonza, yeah.
Yeah, and it's very good. I mean,
Yes.
it's,
I think
you
I have.
want to listen to Beethoven for a whole evening, you can do it. I mean, it's wonderful. So that's all I use.
Is it free?
It's free. Yeah, you have to register, you get a name and all that password, but once you got it, it's great.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I use iTunes Radio every morning on my morning walk. I think it's wonderful. You can choose the stations you like from the ones they have, or you can design your own station, and it just keeps playing music. And it's very simple. It's very useful.
Which one is this?
iTunes Radio.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people like it. I think it's, it's like, was it Jim?
Yeah, Bill. Yeah,
Bill.
yeah.
Bill had a good suggestion, and it's just what works for the individual, because there's a lot of alternatives.
Cut wood by, or, I mean, they have all kinds of things.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so the other question that Bill had was he has a 16 gigabyte iPhone 5, and he's running out of capacity. He went to settings, general, usage, and storage. And he finds that the camera and photos is the #1 item. Well, the problem, so he went to settings, and then he went to general, and he went to,
Go back.
he went to usage.
Near the bottom, at the bottom.
Usage.
No, it's the bottom for us. Underneath mute.
Oh, yeah, usage. And then he went to
Managed storage.
Managed storage, yeah. Okay, now, here's the problem. He went to the wrong place. Okay, it shows mine here. It shows my 3 devices. The reason I say he went to the wrong place is because this is for iCloud storage. It's not for the storage on your device. If you want to see the storage on your device, where you have to go is you can plug it into iTunes, and I think there's a way that iTunes will show it, but I don't know that. I'm pretty sure about that, though. But the other place to get it is to go up here, About. And About will show you, it'll show you how many songs and so on you have on there, and photos. It doesn't show the amount. It's loading mine up. I've got huge files out there. But in all probability, what I would say is that usually when you're running out of storage on an iDevice, 16 is their smallest device, and you could run out just by having a lot of pictures out there. But more than likely, I would guess that Bill has videos that he has taken with his iPhone. And if you take videos, they eat up your storage hugely. And so the thing to do is to, every once in a while, plug your device. Videos are not transferred automatically to iTunes unless you plug it into a computer. Plug it into a computer, or plug it in, if you use Windows, plug it into your Windows machine. Transfer your videos off of your iPhone or your iPad and delete them off of the iPad device. And if you want them back on there, the only way to get them back on there is to plug back in and sync and add them back in. But they eat up a lot of storage. You take a 5-minute video of your grandkids running around the yard and it'll eat up, I don't know, George, you know how much? Where'd George go? He took
Right
off.
here.
You know how much 5 minutes of video will take up on an iPhone? Half a gigabyte?
No. Probably, maybe 100 megabytes.
100. A lot more than 50 or 60 photos. Yes.
Yeah, Mitch, a comment and a question on the usage. If you go back to general
Yes.
and you just click on store, when you click on general, your usage should come up, at least it does on mine.
Well, usage is right here,
Under storage, yeah,
but
Yeah.
that usage,
It'll come up eventually. It'll show
it comes up.
app.
oh, you mean here, it'll come up. Yes, it will. You're right. It does come up there, but what he was looking at was,
No,
somebody was looking
yeah,
at
not the
managed
cloud,
storage.
right.
That's for the iCloud.
No, I wasn't.
What?
I was the one sending the question.
Yeah.
I'm talking about usage up at the storage at the top.
Storage,
Eventually, that little circle will go around and you'll get a listing of all of your storage items like apps, photo, and how much they're using in descending order.
And do you have videos on your device?
I have 3.
Yeah.
One's about 3 minutes long, and the other 2 are less than a minute.
Yeah, I get rid of those for one thing, and then, in answer to your question, if videos and if those pictures and everything are taking up the most space, you need to get them on your computer, and the only way to get them back is to resync and to add them back in.
Okay, I wondered if there was some way to put them in the cloud and then recall them from the cloud.
Who said yes? Somebody talking that shouldn't be talking. No, as far as I know, there is not. When you sync, when you take those off of your device, you have to plug in and resync it to get them back.
Okay.
They're there on your computer, but that's where you have to go to do it.
Mitch?
Yes. Yes, George.
You're concerned that you want to get the photos off of your iPad? Is that what you're saying?
iPhone.
Or iPhone? Okay.
see there, the
Yeah.
thing finally came up, Mitch.
Yeah.
Mitch,
Yes.
Marilyn, are you going to answer that?
No, I was going to say something else.
Okay, because if they're in photo stream and he has that box checked in iPhoto on the computer, it will automatically put them in the cloud.
Not the movies.
No, not the movies. But he's only got like 3 minutes of movies, is what he's saying.
Well, he must have a lot of pictures on there because, and it doesn't take much to fill up a 16 gigabyte iPhone if you start using it a lot. I always recommend that the normal person get 32, and if you're like me, you get 120.
But before you switch out of that, can you show that, click on one of those and show people how to delete something?
Well, okay, here's my,
There's an edit. Well, at least on the other one, there's on videos, if you click videos, it should give you an opportunity.
yeah, there's an edit.
If you click edit, you can delete stuff. That's
Yeah.
how you,
Where's the edit?
Edit's right up here.
When he looks at that list, what's taking up all the space?
What's taking up all your space? Yeah,
Well, if you click on photos and camera,
yeah,
it will show what the usage is, how it arrived at that total of usage.
right.
And on my case, it is camera, let's see, where is it? I think it's camera roll, as I recall.
So if it's your camera roll, you want to get those, do you have a computer?
Yes, I do.
An Apple computer?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, but you can sync to your Windows computer and you can get those on your computer, right?
Yes.
Okay, then that's what I would do, and you can't, there's no way to bring those back in automatically unless you connect to the computer and bring them back in.
Yeah, that's why I save them on here, so that I can show people, something that occurred 6 months ago, or that I took a picture of, or whatever.
Right. Now, and you have an iPhone 5?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, okay.
Mitch,
Yes,
I'm looking at my list.
yeah.
And I have an app on here that I put on for my granddaughter,
Mhm.
and I just looked at it, and it's 1.4 gigabytes.
Mhm.
And that's none of the Apple stuff, it's just another app.
All right.
So it could be an app that's taking up storage too.
Well, yeah, it could be, but he said the big problem with it was the,
Right, but I'm just pointing out that it may not necessarily be an iCloud app. It might be some other one.
like that Infinity Blade up near the top was 1.2 gigabytes for
Yeah.
one game.
yep. And I don't play Infinity Blade, but there was a special on it where they were offering for free.
I did the same thing and
Yeah.
ended up deleting it for that reason.
Well, I had room for it, yes, Georgia. My guy, I didn't know you were here.
George
Here you
Road, I'm
squawking
so
back there.
quiet. What I had found when I've had to help clean up on this, a lot of the apps in and of themselves are not big, but the more you use them and the history and the cache suddenly gets quite bigger. So I agree with Marilyn. It can be very surprising, some of the stuff that takes room, that isn't what you think where it is.
That's very true.
Back issues of magazines chew up a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah, I have the Zinio, I think it is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where, I probably have that in the books right here. This Zinio takes up a huge, these books take up a huge amount of room, and as you can see, I only have a couple of them downloaded right now, because that's one source where I found that, gee, I've got all these old magazines out there, and it's nice to be able to have them, but they were taking up a lot of room. So,
Do you delete those the same way by pushing and holding and you get the X?
you do edit, and then you see the X, and it's just deleting it from your device. It's still out there, and it's still out there at the site. so you can get them back.
How do you move a video from your iPad to iTunes, plugging it into your Mac?
Well, I don't have that here, but when you plug it into your Mac and you're in iTunes and you click on your device, it comes up across and it says software updates, summary, and so on. And one of them is movies.
Right.
And you go to the movies tab, and if you've got movies on your device, you just start checking off the ones you want. And then you hit sync. To get them off, you just go in and on your device and delete them.
Uncheck them?
Uncheck them, yes. So if I go back, I don't know if that'll still be there. It took a while to come up, but yeah, it's not there. This will take a while to come up. If you go to the storage area, remember I went into movies and it did allow me to edit the movies and take them out right there. You can do it right there. The other place you can do it is actually in the movies app, videos. Okay, so you could go here, edit, and take them out right there.
But you need to sync first if you want to keep them.
Yes.
But when you go to sync, will they all come back onto your device?
Only the ones you have checked. Yeah. You're not going to lose them by unchecking them or deleting them from here. You're not. When you buy something from Apple at the Apple Store, it literally never goes away. You can delete it from every device that you have. And when you go, as long as you're using the same Apple ID, you go in and you say, well, I want to re-download that song or re-download that app or re-download that movie, and it'll say, oh, you already purchased this. And you'll download it again for free.
But is that true if they take that particular app off the Apple Store?
If they take it off the Apple Store, it's gone.
Yeah, even though you bought it.
Yeah. Yes.
No, what I want to do is take it off my device so that it won't be using up memory.
Right.
But leave it on my computer.
Yes.
And the next time I sync, it's going to go back on my device again, which I don't want to happen.
You leave it on it's on your computer, it's in your iTunes file, but when you plug your device in and you go to the Movies tab, that's where you check it off to sync. So if you take it off here, then when you plug in your thing, go to the Movies tag and uncheck it. And then it won't sync.
Are all the movies treated as one, or are they separate?
They're separate.
There's a setting that you want to have, that you want to look at in iTunes that says sync all movies or sync selected movies. You can pick the selected movies.
Yeah, selected movies. I have 700 movies, so.
I have another iTunes question. I don't know if you can help me. My iTunes is very difficult to use on my phone, iPhone, because it's disorganized. And I do all my music by albums. And on my iPhone, some of these albums have got separated so that some of the songs are separate from other songs. I can't get them together. Now, everything is beautifully organized on my computer, and when I say synchronize, it doesn't put them back together. They're organized in a different way on my iPhone. I can't get it straightened out.
There are, what I'm going to tell you to do is, we don't have time to do that today, but if you go into, if you sign up with George for a week on lynda.com and go to the iOS 7 tutorial, which is long, there is a whole section on iPad and music, and I'll show where that is. And in there, I just went over that stuff last night a little bit, and in there, they talked about organization, and your answer might be in there. It's worth looking. So this is the tutorial, and it's down here under iPad as part of your device, and they talk about these various things. I'll play this first one because this is sort of got to his question about iRadio. hopefully this will work.
We're going to look at the music and video apps of iOS 7. Both apps work pretty much the same way across the iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch, and they allow you to carry around a lot of music and video content to keep yourself entertained while you're out and about. Exactly how much depends on the capacity of your device and the size of your music and video files, but even the smallest capacity iOS device can hold hours of content. Now, this chapter assumes that you've already synced your device with iTunes and copied the music and videos you want to it. If you don't know how to do this, go back and watch Chapter 3 on syncing your device with your computer. Also, if you're using the iTunes Match service, remember that although you may see your music collection on your device, you may have to tap songs or albums to download them. See the movie on iTunes Match in Chapter 3 if you haven't watched it already. Okay, I'll start by tapping Music on my iPhone. Now, unless you're already playing music, you'll be taken to one of the 5 categories at the bottom of the screen. Depending on how you've set up your iPod or iPhone, you may see some different categories, but I currently have radio, playlists, artists, songs, and more. If you're on an iPad, you'll see 8 categories down here instead of 5. I'll show you how to customize which buttons appear here in just a moment, but each one of these is a way of browsing through the music stored on your device. Radio is a brand new feature of iOS 7. If you're familiar with services like Spotify or Pandora, iTunes Radio is in a similar vein. It's a streaming internet radio service where you can listen to preset stations or create your own stations to customize the type of music you listen to. More on this in a bit. Playlists lets you browse the playlist you've created and sync from iTunes. Artists lets you search your library by the artist's name. And songs let you search by the song name. There's also a More category where you'll find albums, audiobooks, genres, compilations, and composers. These are just additional ways to find the content you're looking for. For instance, if you listen to a lot of classical music, you might find the composers category more useful than the artist category. You can customize which categories appear along the bottom of the screen by tapping Edit here in the More section. That reveals icons for all the available category types. The ones that don't currently appear at the bottom of the screen are displayed in red. All you have to do is drag the ones you want to the bottom of the screen. For instance, I'll drag composers over artists, and it's immediately replaced. If I change my mind, I just drag artists back to composers, and it goes right back to where it was. Tap done to close this area. Now, one other way to browse through the music on your iPhone or iPod, but not on the iPad, is to flip it into landscape mode. That displays your music in the form of cover art for each of the albums. You can flick left and right to browse through your collection. Tap a cover to view the songs on that album. You can tap a song to start it playing, or tap the cover to view all the albums again. And that's the gist of how to browse through your music on your iOS device. In upcoming movies, we'll look at selecting and playing your music and videos, as well as how to control playback and how to browse and purchase more content.
I don't know if you'll find your answer here, but he's got several other videos on using iTunes with your iOS device. I've had that same problem that you're talking about.
Even if I can't solve that problem, this looks like it has some pretty good workarounds.
Yeah,
To
it
get
does.
the music organized.
Yeah. Okay, so Bill had one more question that I want to go over, and that was on his iPod, he's often reading an article in Safari, and he starts on the original page, and then he'll hit a link, and he can't seem to swipe to get back to the original page, or sometimes arrows work, sometimes they don't. I've played around with that. I've had some trouble with that myself, but I'm going to pull up this tab right here. Okay, that's actually this crashed on me when I did it the other day, but this is a link right here. So I'll hit the link, and the new page opens up. And then I'll go down and hit another link. And this comes up. Now, the way I always go back is with the arrow. So I just hit the arrow and go back. I hit the arrow last night, and one time it crashed on me, but it's working right now. Yes?
Mitch, what I found with that is if you hit a link and it goes outside of that particular publication or whatever,
And opened up a new window.
basically is what happens.
Right.
When it opens up a new window, you can't use the back arrow.
No, you
You
can't.
have to use the tab.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah. And I don't know, I looked at Safari to see if that was a setting, open up a new link every time you, and I could not find that on the iDevice.
That's usually a decision of the web page.
Okay, of the web page. I know when you're on Mavericks, you can go into Safari and Preferences, and you can say, open up in a new page.
Yeah.
But on here, it's a decision of the web
Yes.
page. Okay. So, Bill, does that make any sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I know
And,
on my newspapers, when I'm reading my newspapers, and I get to, I see the headline of an article I want to read, I tap on it, I read the article, and then I hit that back arrow.
Mhm.
Almost always it takes me back to the newspaper. But like the lady said over there, in my experience was with most things, many things, like Zeit, if I'm on Zeit, and I hit a link in Zeit, it takes me out. I've got to go, I either have to do the finger gesture thing, or hit the home button and go back and start all over.
okay, good. All right, so that was, those were all the questions that were submitted. I really appreciate it if you do send them in advance if you know something that we can help you with. And do remember that Google's your friend, because if you Google any of these questions, you'd get a lot of stuff. But I don't want to discourage questions in the group at all. Yes?
Mitch, Karen, I don't have on Safari, I don't have on my phone, I don't have that top line.
Yeah, it's different on Safari, on the phone. I think he's got something here on that, but
Okay, I'll
see me after the class. But basically, down at the right-hand corner of the page, you'll see a little box down there, and if you hit that, it'll show all your pages. They fan up. It's right in the corner, at the bottom corner. You see it? It's a dot there. Let's see, I'm telling you right. Safari, yeah, it's a square.
Double square.
It's a double square in the bottom corner. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Mitch, in doing some of this stuff, I just didn't mean to, but deleted one of the icons from my home screen.
Yes.
How do I put an icon back on?
If you deleted it with the X,
Yes.
you have to re-download it. So go to the App Store, search for that icon, search for that app, and if it costs you $10, you have to pay again. No, it'll be free.
It was actually for Wells Fargo.
Okay.
How-
They'll give you one for free. But
do I
anyhow,
go-
no, that's how you
Do I
do
go to the App
it.
Store or do I go to Wells Fargo?
No, you go to the App Store.
Mitch, shouldn't be under purchases?
It might be under purchases, but you can search for it. It should be under purchases as well. But you can just literally go to the app and download it. And it'll say you've already, if you did buy it, it'll say you already bought this, so we're sending it down to you for free.
And that gentleman who was sitting here said about doing the reset, and it takes away all the folders, but it just disperses the folders, right? It doesn't delete them?
No, I think it deletes them, because that, Eckert took off, so
He
yeah.
said it takes the things out of folders, it gets rid of all your folders.
It gets rid of all your folders.
Just like
You don't lose your apps.
You don't lose your apps, you just lose all your folders though.
But it just disperses them throughout the rest of the screen.
The folders are gone.
It disperses the.
If you have
apps.
50 items in a folder, now you got 50 items, you don't have a folder anymore.
But they're in alphabetical.
But they're on here in
Yeah, they'll be
alphabetical.
in, yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
To restore that app, the lady asked a question about Wells Fargo. If you go to the App Store, there should be a little cloud with an arrow pointing down. You just tap on that, and back it comes.
okay, yes.
I've had this problem. The easy way is to go into the app, on the iPad, say,
Right,
and then hit over not on this device, not on this iPad, and then you'll have the ones that you have taken out, and then it's simple as to hit the button and you're down back again.
Yeah, you can do that, and I'll show you that real quick. So if I go, but that, I think it's different on the iPhone. You go to the App Store, and you go to Purchases, right here at the bottom, Purchases, and it'll say all or not on this iPad. So you're not on this iPad, and then it shows them. On the iPhone, that is not, I don't see that there. That's not there at the bottom. So you would have to search for the app and then re-download it. Okay? Yes?
Somehow or another, this is Walt Davidson. Somehow or another, I have lost iTunes and iBooks, and I can't get them. They're on my screen, but I touch them and nothing shows a blank page.
iTunes and,
iBooks.
and you can't open them up.
Pardon?
You can't open them up. They won't open up for you.
No, well, no, they open up and I get a blank page.
Okay. Well, what I would do in that case is if you double tap on the home page, okay, this will come up, and go to that app and close it. Oops, it didn't like me.
I double tap it and it opens to the blank page.
That's okay, just swipe it up and it'll close it. And then see if it'll reopen.
Can't move it.
Jim, you got him?
I got him.
Okay, good. Now, the other thing you can do, if that doesn't work, is you can do a hard reset, which straightens out a lot of problems, and that's to hold down the hard reset. You hold down the home button, and you hold down the button that closes your device off, that little square button. Hold down both of those at the same time until the apple, you'll have to hold them down until the screen turns black and an apple appears. And then it will, that resets a lot of things in your device. And when I've had trouble with apps before, that has solved the problem. Yes?
I've been having trouble getting my iPhone to do the backup when you plug it in.
Yeah.
Have it connect to internet. I gotta get a message. It's been 5 weeks since you backed up your phone.
It's probably because you've used up all your storage. Have you used up all your
No, I
storage?
checked that. I just, after I got here this morning, I did back it up now. I backed it up. But I'm having trouble with the automatic backup.
At night, you mean?
Yeah. When I'm charging it, you know, it says it hooks to the internet and you're got the screen locked.
Yeah, mine charges mine backs up all the time. You might want to stop by and get a Genius appointment on that. Check at the Apple Store. Or Google that problem. But I just want to see here on mine, when mine was last backed up. I'm sure it was last night.
Where do you see that?
You go to settings and you go to iCloud, and then you go to the bottom of that, which is storage and backup. I'll show that in a minute.
He's going to show it.
Okay, so you go to settings right here, and you go down here to iCloud, okay? And then you go down to storage and backup. And it says, it was last backed up yesterday at 11:14 p.m.
Carl, make sure that you've got that button set to automatic.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have that on zero, it won't back up.
Now, the problem I had with this is at one time I was running out of storage up here. and it wasn't backing up automatically. And I took care of that. And sometimes it'll say that if you're not hooked up to the internet. Is she hooked up to the internet?
No, I thought, I just got a Mac computer, and I thought that they backed up automatically without you having to plug them in.
Well, you've got to turn on iCloud on your Mac computer, and you've got to have it on your, is that an iPhone? Yeah. Is she on the Wi-Fi right now?
No.
You got to be on Wi-Fi.
They have to be on Wi-Fi.
Otherwise, it'll say backup unknown. Okay, we've got,
Mitch,
yes.
Vicki Calvert,
Vicki.
just a real quick question.
Yeah.
I have an iPad Air, and it's my 4th iPad, counting the mini.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that, I don't use it a whole lot, but I've noticed that more frequently than I'd like, it crashes. You know, I'll be in a page in Safari.
Just like mine did right there?
Pardon?
Just like mine did.
Yes.
A few minutes ago.
Yeah. And I just wondered if anybody else is having that experience with
That is a known,
iPad
that is
Air.
a known issue, and
On the Air or on all of them?
on all iOS devices. It happens on my phone as well. And they're supposed to be coming up with a pretty big update in
Okay.
March, which is going to be iOS 7.1.
Okay.
And that's supposed to correct that. Yes, Georgia.
Vicki, I have a new iPad Air, 64
Yeah.
gig. The discussion, some people are saying it's a memory issue. Other people say I have his huge machine, same thing.
Right.
Some of the people have said, because my Safari is crashing 2 or 3 or 4 times a night as I'm reading.
Okay, yeah.
Just, it crashes.
Yeah, yeah.
The machine doesn't go black like his, just Safari crashes.
Right.
I've had that happen too.
But some are saying, some people said they think maybe their Bluetooth keyboard, but I don't do Bluetooth.
I don't either, yeah.
So I'm just crashing. So,
Yeah.
but it's on Apple Discussions very lively
Okay,
as
well,
well.
it's good to hear that it's others.
It's not just you.
It's not
Well,
just
you and I
mine.
get cooties.
Gremlins.
I have the same problem, but I've never had it on my 2, but I have it on the Air.
Yeah, I've never had it on my iPhone. I don't have it on the Mini, which is also iOS 7, but I do have it on the Air.
On the Air, yes.
And I'm not experiencing any of that.
Well, you are just perfect,
George.
George.
You gotta use the machine to experience it.
2 or 3 hours a day.
Okay, we've got 10 or 15 minutes left, and there's a couple things I want to go over, and this is in this lynda.com tutorial on iOS, and what I want to go over is, I'm not going to have time to go over everything I wanted to go over, so maybe next time I'll do it. I wanted to go over the using the auto lock and using password protection, but I'm going to pass those up and go into this troubleshooting area. I want to play a few of these.
In this final chapter, we're going to be looking at some solutions for the occasional times in your day-to-day use of the iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch where they might start acting a little weird. Maybe an app keeps quitting unexpectedly, or maybe your device isn't connecting to the internet. If your device is acting strangely, you can refer to this chapter for some things you can try. The first thing I always recommend trying, whether it's an iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, your computer, or any other electronic device, is to restart the thing. It always surprises me how some people will never try the very simple step of restarting, which fixes many temporary problems, before they start getting into all kinds of complicated attempts to fix an issue. So we've seen this one before, but to restart your iOS device, hold down the sleep wake button for a couple of seconds until you see the slide to power off slider. Then slide to turn off your device. Wait until you see the screen turn off. The screen might go blank, but for a moment the device will still technically be on. Once your device is completely off, hold down the sleep wake button again and power it back up. And once you're back at your home screen, check to see if that solved your issue.
Okay, now, let me go through a few more of these. They're short.
If you ever run into an issue where a particular application freezes up, meaning the screen just goes completely still and no amount of tapping, flicking, or pinching causes anything to happen, or if the app is not responding the way it should, you'll probably need to force the application to quit. For example, right now I'm trying to zoom out of this page in the Safari web browser, but pinching seems to be having no effect whatsoever. To force quit an application, hold down the sleep-wake button until you see the slide to power off slider appear. Then release the button and press and hold the home button. After a few seconds, the frozen app should quit and you'll be taken back to your home screen. You can use this technique if your screen is frozen and pressing the home button doesn't seem to be doing anything. Now, if you're in a situation where an app is acting up, but you can still get back.
Everybody get that one? Let me go over that one again, because it's one that actually I had forgotten about. So here we go.
First, quit an application, hold down the sleep-wake button until you see the slide to power off slider appear. Then release the button and press and hold the home button. After a few seconds, the frozen app should quit and you'll be taken back to your home screen.
Now, notice what he said is that you got to be on the frozen app.
Yeah.
Right.
It's going to close down the app that you're on. Okay? So that's another way to do it.
If your screen is frozen and pressing the home button doesn't seem to be doing anything. Now, if you're in a situation where an app is acting up, but you can still get back to your home screen, you can also try to force quit an app by then double-clicking the home button to open the multitasking view. And then just flick away the app's preview to quit it. At this point, you can try opening the app again to see if it's behaving better. If it's still giving you problems, you might want to try restarting your device as we discussed in a previous movie.
I've also had to, on rare occasions, actually delete, the ones he has are native apps, you can't delete them, but I've actually had to delete an app and re-download it from the App Store, and that fixed my problem. Yes, Jim?
Restarting worked for him.
Okay, good. So I want to move on, because these things are short, and we got time for a couple more. And as you can see, they're good tips. Rebooting.
If you find yourself in a lockup situation where you can't get your device to respond to the commands for force quitting an application or for restarting the device, both of which we covered in previous movies, the next step is to try forcing the device to reboot. To do so, hold down both the sleep-wake button and the home button simultaneously. Now, even when the screen goes blank, it's important to keep holding down the buttons. Only when you see the Apple logo appear, you'll know the device has successfully rebooted, and you can then release the buttons. You can also try this fix if your iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch is off but won't turn back on. Of course, first make sure it's plugged into a charger to make sure the battery isn't just depleted. But once you're plugged in, hold down the sleep-wake button and the home button together to see if your device will reboot.
I just had someone in the club who's not here today, and I won't mention them. But they had a problem where all of a sudden their iPad 4 would not start, just a blank screen. And I said, well, plug it into a charger and see what happens. And that didn't seem to help. And I said, well, hold down the buttons that this guy just said, the off button and the home button, and see if you can get it to start that way. And she tried that several times, and she couldn't get it to work. She made an appointment at the Genius Bar, and so she went and told what happened. And she said, I did the thing with holding down the home button and the off button at the same time, and nothing came up, and I held it down for a long time. He says, well, do you mind if I try it? He tried it, and it worked. So you really got to hold those buttons down sort of hard. And I've had to hold it down for 45 seconds before this app was come up.
Wow.
Before, when something was, usually it's a 10 or 15 second deal, but I've had to hold it down for almost up to a minute before that app will reappeared.
Is that something you should do?
I do it about once a week because I use my devices so much, and all of a sudden some apps won't be working right, or I had a deal on mail just the other day on my iPhone where I open up mail and I check off things that deleted, and the delete tab at the bottom wasn't showing anymore. And so I just restarted the device. I usually restart this way, and it worked fine. Yes?
Michael Bryars, I do that, and it takes so long after the Apple first appears to start to reboot. For example, right now, about 2 minutes ago, I did a double press and I still have the Apple. Eventually it'll come on, but it just takes forever.
Yeah, you can ask them about that at the Apple Store, but that's happened to me, and I think that that is a reflection of all the junk it's cleaning up. What do you think, Jerry?
Probably so.
I think, I mean, I've had it go for a while. I've had it go where I've done it, I thought, well, something's wrong with this thing, it's frozen up, and I've laid it down on the cocktail table and started watching TV, and all of a sudden I looked over and the thing was starting up. So there, you just started up right now.
Yeah, it'll eventually start up.
Yeah, but
You just have to be patient.
I think it's an indication of all the stuff that it's resetting, and it must be a lot. Yes?
Yeah, Don Peacock, that's a controversial thing. I read recently, it said that doing that is like unplugging your computer, without turning it off, just pulling the plug. So I don't think it's something you should do on a routine basis. Unless you turn it off and back on and you still have a problem.
Yeah,
I try ever since
I haven't read that. I do it probably once a week or so. But it's something to Google. I'll have to Google it and see about what it says. Yeah.
Pat, are you supposed to let your battery run down on your iPhone?
No, it doesn't make any difference
It
anymore.
doesn't make any difference? Okay.
Okay, we got time to do one more of these short ones.
If you've tried everything else we've covered previously in this chapter, and your iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch is still acting weird or freezing up, or just not responding properly, the next thing to try is to reset your settings. Now for this example, I've rearranged some icons on my home screen, and you'll see why momentarily. To reset your settings, go to Settings, General, and Reset. The top choice here is Reset All Settings. Now what this does is reset your preferences back to the way they were when you turned on your device for the first time. But it won't delete any save data like text messages, contacts, photos in your photo library, your music and videos, or any apps you've installed. All those things will not be touched. What it will do is wipe out potentially corrupt preferences and settings on your iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch. So tap Reset All Settings when you're ready, and you'll be asked to confirm that you really want to do this, and it will actually ask you to confirm again. They really want to make sure that you really want to do this. So tap Reset All Settings one more time, and then you'll see the Apple logo and your device will restart.
Not that fast.
Now that it's rebooted, let's go to the home screen again. And you can see that it kept all of my app icons exactly where they were, so I don't have to rearrange them now. You might notice that the screen is a little dimmer right now because the brightness settings have been readjusted. Some other things you might want to bear in mind are that you'll have to re-enter any passwords you might have had stored for wireless networks you were previously able to automatically connect to. And if you use apps like Maps, you'll again be asked to allow the app and other apps like it to use your location information. And generally, you'll see all the types of messages that appear when you open apps for the first time. And hopefully you'll find that resetting your settings fixed whatever issue it was you were having.
Okay. We've got a few more minutes. I'll take questions, but we didn't get through a couple of those, but we got through the key ones on how to troubleshoot your device. Yes?
What's that little black cube with a white circle that just kind of showed up on my iPad screen?
A black what?
It's a little cube with a white circle in it. And if I hit it, it goes. It's a,
That's the reloading your apps or updating the apps. You'll get that in the update screen, I think is what she's talking about.
It's always, whenever I open it, it's there. It just came. And I kind of have to push it out of the way. I'd like to get rid of it.
Come and see me after the meeting. We'll take a look at it. Yes?
When I take not a long video, maybe a 45-second video, and I try to email it, it makes me shorten it, and it's very difficult to shorten it. How can I send it without shortening?
I think there's a limit, and the limit is 30 second on sending a video. And so you have to edit it down. I've had to do that before.
Can I put it anyplace else and then send it from someplace else and then
You
email?
probably put it in Dropbox, I don't know,
Yes.
Jerry, what?
You'll be able to do that.
Yeah, you'll be able to put it in Dropbox. You might be able to put it on iTunes. I don't know if you can do that for your iDevice or not. I haven't tried it. Yes,
Yeah, Michael Costanzo.
yes.
Mitch, if I edit an account to my iPad,
Yes.
can I go ahead and establish a contact book, contact icon?
If you've done what now?
If I went ahead and added an account for my email account,
Yes.
okay? Now, I want to establish also a contact for that email account. Is it possible to establish a contact icon for that?
Second contact for second.
Separate.
A separate contact icon for that account? No, I don't think so.
Well, I think the answer is no.
No.
The mail uses all the contacts, so you can't create a second set of contacts.
So the only other alternative is to put the new contacts in the old contact.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
What about if it's Google or Yahoo?
Now, if it's Google or Yahoo, you can use their contacts.
Okay.
Mitch?
Yes.
Like where, at least my cautioning would be, if you allow Google to have all your contacts and your Google account is hacked or somehow gotten by the bad guys, you're going to find yourself on a phishing list, which is what happened to me, and I'm pretty sure I can pinpoint it to Google.
Well, that's a good point, and let's take a look at that, and I'll show you exactly how mine are set up. So here's one Google account. Notice the only thing I have checked is mail. And that's the reason why.
Right.
Here's a second Google account. Same thing. Here's here's the Yahoo, same thing. I don't want them to have my contacts for that very reason. Now, the iCloud, of course, they have my contacts because I'm syncing them to the cloud. This is getting, this security business, and it's going to get worse, is getting very irritating. We had the Target episode. I hope people here weren't affected by that, but we've also had a number of breaches. I posted a few on, I think, Yahoo had a breach on security, Google had a breach on security, and so you immediately go in and change your password. Well, yeah.
You just mentioned Yahoo. If you have an AT&T email account, that's managed by Yahoo. Yahoo provides a service for a lot of the email services. So don't think you don't have a Yahoo account if you have something like AT&T and many of the others.
That's a very good point. So, you hear on the news or you read in a blog that there was a compromise today on Google. Well, I've got 3 Google accounts, so I've got to go in and change the password. I've got complicated passwords and one password because you try to do the right thing. So you go in and you change it in there. I go to the Google site, I change it there, so I have to pull it up 3 different times because I have 3 accounts. Then I've got to go to my iDevice, and I have to go in and put in these new passwords in my iDevice, and it's getting to be a pain to do all that stuff. It really is. And I've done the same thing with, they'll say there was a breach on credit cards, and even if they say my credit card numbers didn't come up, I'll go in and change my password. Yes.
One of the things that I wondered about is one of the people here that we as a group rely on to give us help in fixing our equipment when something goes wrong says it really doesn't matter how long your password is. that you can have a fairly simple password and it will protect you just as well as some of the others. Not sure the reasoning behind that. I didn't want to go into it at the time.
Well, okay, here's what I have to say about that. The longer and the more complex, the better. But if it's a sophisticated hacker, they have equipment that they can hook up to your computer or your device. And if you have a 12 or 13 random digit passcode, they can crack it in a matter of 2 or 3 hours now, right, Jerry? A professional. But 2 or 3 hours, if it's 4 digits, they can crack that in about 10 minutes.
Less than that.
Less than that. So if it's a longer one and it takes them 2 or 3 hours, and you really think that a professional stole your device, it gives you time to go and erase it remotely or whatever. So, does that help you answer the question? Okay. We're running out of time, folks.
I have a question over here.
One more question.
Natalie Gordon. What my question is I used to have leveling line on my device, and it seemed like it was just on the bottom that you just pull it up, and it would be a level. You could punch there, and it would be a leveling device that I could take. If I was going to hang a photograph or one, the reason why it is because I have new glasses, and all of a sudden I find out I'm seeing everything at an angle, and I thought, my goodness, we're having foundation problems. But I realized it's this. But I went to check something in demonstrating it, and my leveling device was gone, and I wondered if anyone else knows where it is. I know you can get them, and I have an app, but it's not the one that was on originally.
On the iPhone 5, the level, Jeff Bohr showed me at one of his meetings, the iPhone 5, for some reason, the level device does not work as well as the other,
Maybe that's
on
it.
the
Maybe I
other
used
phones.
it. My husband's phone has
That might be
maybe on
it.
there. Yes, for.
Okay, on the iPhone 5, this is the compass. You can see that. And when you swipe like this, it's a level. Okay, there's the level. There's the compass.
But did you get the
Yeah,
level?
so you go like this, and you get the level.
It's 4S, and it just shows with the compass.
Oh, the level does? Yeah, okay. Yeah, here's the 4S, and it shows the level at the bottom. It's all on one screen. Okay, we're out of time. Thank you very much.